So before we get into too much about the LIV tournament, I wanted to lay a bit of a foundation and get Rowan to introduce himself and talk about how he got into turf and open spaces, very open spaces in what you do. So give us a bit of a 2-minute on how you became in the position that you are and the journey along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Clint, and thanks for the opportunity to come and talk today. I started my turf career just over the Victorian border at a little club called Kumialla Golf Club out in the country, and since then I've obviously gone on to work at bigger clubs, and but I think that sort of foundation for me working in a smaller country club really set me up well, I guess, in terms of work ethic and working with smaller groups and smaller budgets and things like that, to then move over to Kooyonga Golf Club in 2005, and from that point I sort of got the bug for it, and working with bigger budgets, bigger groups of people, lots more machinery, tournaments, all that sort of thing sort of set me up to, I guess, want to become a superintendent. And then working overseas at St Andrews for 12 months was another, I guess, feather in the cap before coming back to Grange, and another club in between then, which I can talk about a little later. But eventually finding my way to the superintendent's job at Grange and hosting things like this, pretty cool.
Obviously, not everyone's intimately across the golf course superintendent's world, but a job like Grange, or even the top level golf courses in South Australia, that super job doesn't come up all that often. Obviously, a lot of people take that role and stick with it for a decade or more. You mentioned going and working somewhere else. Obviously, I'm keen to explore that, probably trying to bring some value for these for the audience around, if you feel like you're getting stuck and the person that might be above you isn't moving. You talk about your decision to move to Murray Downs, and then it was Murray Downs, right? Yep. And then, like, if you expected the move back to be so fast, and if you think that was the right move, and why? Yeah,
so the small club that I had a short stint at was Murray Downs. That's in Swan Hill, just over it's in New South Wales actually, but it's just over the border from Swan Hill in Victoria. And I had been at Grange for about 8 years up before that job came up, or before I got that job, and I was getting stuck. I probably didn't feel like there was much movement in the turf industry in South Australia at the time, and I had a incessant need at that stage to become a superintendent somewhere, and sort of cut my teeth and manage staff where the buck stopped with me, and that's what I got at Murray Downs. But it was just, again, another small country club. I went over there, I had 10 staff when I got there, and pretty quickly ratted a few out and got it back down to about seven or eight. But we were building back up, and I was able to manage my own group of people and get in the people that I wanted and needed there, and things were, I thought, were on the up. And I was only there for a short period, and the superintendent's job came back up at Grange. The superintendent that was at Grange that I was working under, he got the job at Kooyonga Golf Club, and the job was advertised, and I applied for it and got it. So it was only about 8 months that I had spent at Murray Downs, but that was really invaluable, and I wouldn't have got the job at Grange without taking a position like that one, where you can just manage people. That was really what I felt like I needed to get under my belt. The turf management side of things is really the easy part of my job, and I guess all the managers in the room probably might find the same thing. The looking after the turf or the landscape side of things might be the easiest part if you're managing 4, 5, 10, 20 people. So certainly finding that now.
So how long after taking the helm at the Grange did you become aware of this LIV tournament that was coming? And obviously, probably before that, you had some the Astor.
Yep.
So you had some stuff happen beforehand, which obviously requires some preparation. But what was your gap between starting and then finding out about LIV? Like, how long have you been in charge?
For LIV, I'd been back for sort of 4.5 years, but to digress a little bit, I had a couple of SA Opens or Jacobs Creek Opens, and I worked there. I worked at Royal Adelaide for a volunteer stint for their Jacobs Creek Open. What else? Astor Trophy at Grange, the Australian Amateur, which was over 36 holes at Grange as well, and then Women's Australian Open in 2016, 2019. 2019 I was in charge for that one, and I'd only been back at Grange for about 5 months.
Pretty fresh, yeah.
before that. But LIV 4.5 years beforehand, but we only had a 5-month window of finding out to get the course prepped.
Is to get a course ready for an event like LIV, is 5 months generally the accepted standard worldwide, or did you have a short window?
That's a short window, yeah, for a tournament that big. For instance, the Australian Open at Kingston Heath and Victoria Golf Club, they had 4 years. They knew about it for 4 years. President's Cup, is going to be held in a couple of years' time at Royal Melbourne, so they know about it years in advance, and they've got time to reconstruct whatever they need to be able to prep for it. And there are things that you need to put in place that early to try and get the surfaces ready. But I'd like to think that clubs like the Group 1 clubs in Adelaide and other Group 1 clubs in the country probably keep their surfaces close enough to tournament standard to be able to get them up in a relatively short time frame, but probably would have liked a bit more.
I think sometimes if you get too much time, I like to prepare it just beforehand, like I did for this. Obviously, grass needs a bit more time. So they notify you that obviously for anyone in the room that's not aware, Grange is quite unique as a golf club and courses in South Australia. They've got 38 holes of playable, so there's effectively 2 golf courses in one, and I think that probably gives you an opportunity to host more events because you've got the square meterage to be able to handle the infrastructure of the additional, trucks and whatever else. One of the questions that I was curious to understand was, how do you choose the LIV circuit? Like, they don't just play the east or the west, right? No. Well, you can play any selection of holes you like. That's the beauty of having a 36-hole facility. You can make up a composite course out of as many holes as you like, really. But and the Women's Open, Astor Trophy, Australian Amateur, they just play just a course. Yep. But LIV was a bit different. They approached us to find a composite course, so a mix of holes amongst both 18s that we could route. And I guess for them, the East Course was designed by Greg Norman, so they wanted as many East Course holes within that layout as they could get, but they're probably never going to get it with some of the holes that are out on our front line on the East Course. But they approached us and they wanted a mix of holes, and we sort of thought, Dustin Johnson's about to be playing here. We need to get some serious length on this golf course, and so we made out this golf course that was way too long, like any normal human being wouldn't be able to play it. And they came to us, and LIV, as you see in the video, LIV's just about having fun and bringing in a younger demographic to golf and getting pissed and having a party. So, they want a spectacle, and so they sort of looked at the courses that we'd chosen, and they were a bit hesitant to go with the extra length. They just wanted golfers to be tearing the golf course up, and eventually that's what they did. Hurt me a little bit, but that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. They chose to go back nine, and they're back 9 east, back 9 west. They're the best 2 nines on the property, and it just worked out well that way. It sort of transitions pretty well. The flow of the golf and the flow of the traffic around the place works well that way. So there's a lot of advantages to that. When you say it hurts you, is it a low score, or is that offensive to a super? Like, is it you're trying to make a hard course? Is that the problem? Or? Yeah, I guess there's a little part of every superintendent that just wants to really annihilate every golfer every time they step onto the golf course. But I think you've got so many other industry people looking at the golf course, and somehow I feel that's a reflection on me, the way that they scored for the first 2 days, and the third day that it came back to the field a little bit.
and in reality, the scores at Grange weren't actually as or too dissimilar to the scores that have been at some other tournaments as well. Albeit the Grange was probably it was the shortest course that they've played on the LIV Tour so far. So yeah, I guess for that fact it was stood up. But yeah, I just feel that I want people looking at it going, geez, those greens are hard, and yeah, I want Dusty and Brooks Koepka 3-putting, 4-putting greens. I'd like to see that.
I remember we would, my team and I were a little bit involved in cooking some meals for the staff that were working there, and I caught a conversation where you were, I guess, not completely in agreement with the speed of the greens, and you were fighting for it to be harder. On the day, that's like effectively LIV own the course as such. They're your boss as soon as they take ownership of the tournament.
Yeah, that's probably one of the things that people don't realise, and it's hard for us to give up control, is we manage the course into tournament, and normally you'd have some input from an agronomy team in the lead up to the tournament, and they'd dictate green speeds and heights of cut, potentially lines of cut, so maybe bringing fairway lines in so you can catch a few more balls that are a bit errant. But we didn't have an agronomy team. But yeah, what happens is you get the course through in the lead up, and it's handed over to a tournament director. And
so is obviously, you know, with test matches, they want the pitch to change for a test match in cricket. Is that the kind of thing you're looking for with your greens in a tournament? Like by Sunday, the greens are rock, and that they play like a bitch. Yeah,
it is like that, and you don't want too big a change from day to day. So they turn up, you know, the Monday of tournament week and start their practice rounds, and you can't have the greens too fast because slugger tells you to slow them down, and then by Wednesday, you know, their last practice round, you slow them down and they're 11 feet and they're a little bit slow, so you bump them back up for the Pro-Am, and then you get all these amateurs out there that can't even walk on them, let alone putt on them. I was one of those. And yeah, you know, you're sort of just all over the shop. There's a real science to it, like, you know, preparing wickets, and you just can't have too much deviation from day to day, and that's why that early preparation is really key. Yeah, just weather events get in the way as well, and you want to get the roller out on them, and I don't know if anyone's a golfer in the room, but you want to, 12.5 feet is fast, 14.5 is really fast. And on the Tuesday morning, they're at 14.5 feet, and trying to slow greens down from that point is near on impossible, especially as you're trying to dry them out. They inherently just pick up speed just through drying them out. So yeah, we're a bit all over the shop, and there was some other issues with managing greens across 2 golf courses. We had different turf varieties and also different construction methods in the greens. So we have you know, a little bit of drying down across both courses is different, and so trying to manage that was hard. You find that you're stimping each green. Stimping is when you measure the speed of the green, so you're trying to stimp each green before you cut, and then you're stimping them after you cut them, and then you might need to double cut it. Some greens you might have to roll, others you might triple cut and then roll, and you're trying. It's a pain.
Rowan probably can't say it, but I'll say it on behalf of superintendents. A lot of golf members can be real pains in the arse, and I can only imagine the stress of having the complaints, especially probably, maybe not directly at you, but at the committee, and that, you know, like not everyone would have been supportive of what occurred. Do you feel that the club is stronger and the brand is better because of it? And I guess, what does it mean for you as a super to have been part of it, your staff to have been part of it, and then what does it mean for the club? I know that's a big question.
Yeah, there's about 8 questions. I guess, sorry, I'll answer that last one. For me, to be part of that is, you know, to have the product that you're producing televised and beamed across the world. There's 280 million viewers across the world. Is pretty cool, and yeah, just to be a part of that preparation, and to know that the things that I've learnt over all of my years as greenkeeping, as a greenkeeper, have led to, you know, that planning and preparation, and to finish on that Sunday and actually be able to put your feet up and know that it's all gone off without a hitch and it's built the brand of the Grange Golf Club. That was pretty cool. For our staff, they just bask in the glory, basically. It's the greenkeepers are the ones that work behind the scenes, and they're probably the lowest paid guys that are working in the sideways rain and wind, and they're like everyone in the room does, and they're the ones who get all the pats on the back at the end of it. So it's good for them to go through that. They build their skill set significantly in that time, and that just flows on in the years afterwards. After the event, the standard of the golf course comes up just through that. So.
Obviously, we talked at the start about the golf course being in a, it's a competition level because you're obviously playing comps there every weekend. And what's, I guess if you could have it as a percentage, what's the difference between a normal Saturday comp and LIV from a preparation, staffing, budgetary, quality standpoint of the finished product? Like if you can answer them, obviously there's more people. Is there more money? Is there more chemicals? Obviously, we've got to be careful. We talked about biodiversity a little earlier. So. Our staff numbers, we got 32 greenkeepers. Of that 32, there's 2 mechanics and 2 biodiversity managers, and an admin as well. So realistically, we've got 27 greenkeepers out there. But we started when we found out we had LIV, we only had 22 staff, so we needed to build that up to 32, and that was a stretch. For the whole period, like for the 5 months?
Yeah, for the 5 months. So we were still putting people on within weeks of the tournament, which scared the hell out of me. But we got a bit of help from some people overseas as well. So we had some foreigners come over to do some casual work for us, which was helpful, got us there in the end. Budget-wise, there was a bit of assistance from LIV with the preparation works, and I think that's pretty standard across most of their events. Irrigation-wise, far more water went out than what we would normally put out. We're using about 600 meg a year for those in the room that maybe have an idea on water, and that's, we took every bit of that we were allocated, so that is our allocation. But fertility wise, probably 30-40 grand over my budget just in those areas, 30 grand in repairs and maintenance and stuff like that as well. So everything is elevated. Percentage wise, the course condition probably goes up 15-20%.
Okay, so not
No, not a great deal. Everything's just a lot more intensive, and probably comes down to your spray programs more than it does anything else, and just making sure that they all hit their targets, of which we'd set 5 months in advance.
Because ultimately a fairway is going to be mowed, right? You can't mow it 15% better, but the inputs is probably where you're going to get that change.
Yeah, that's right, yep.
We were very lucky to be there when a special guest came down and met with your team on the Thursday, I think, or the Friday? No, it was the Thursday after the Pro-Am, after he played. Talk to us about, I guess, how you managed to meet Cam Smith, and then what led up to him coming and honestly spending probably half an hour taking a photo with every single person there and signing everything that we had.
Yeah, so Cam, I was lucky enough to go to the welcome dinner at Adelaide Oval, and they had a light show out on the Oval, and everyone was asked to move out into the seats around the stands and up in the stands, and I've sort of just took the first seat that I could find, and Cam Smith was sitting right behind me, and I turned into a bit of a fangirl and lost my voice, couldn't talk to him, couldn't talk properly, and anyway, we got talking, and they all know a lot more about turf than what I thought they did, so we sort of started talking about the course and a bit about turf, and got a bit technical, and I think he realised that I worked there, and before you know it, we're talking about his Pro-Am round, which was the following day, and I just asked him if he could come down to the shed and meet all the ground staff, and he was really good. One of our staff ducked out to the course and picked him up, and it took, it's only about a 400 or 500 metre trip down to the shed, but it was a 45-minute drive getting through the crowds. Everyone wanted something signed, but sure enough, he got down there, spent 20 minutes with the guys, just thanking them for their effort. signing whatever he could. Yeah.
Signing drawers from filing cabinets.
Yeah, toolbox drawers and cricket stumps, whatever the boys could find to get signed, he was signing.
There's a filing cabinet in their mechanic's shed where any ball that lands in the shed or on the roof of the shed, the mechanic puts it in the filing cabinet drawer. So he's come running out with a filing cabinet. I reckon there was one, he brought one thing out and everyone was just like, like, I don't know, they just kept signing stuff. It was really nice I actually spent a lot of time just watching that, and it seemed like it was any stresses or pressures that your team had leading into that were kind of all just wiped away by just this moment because of who Cam was, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think, like I was saying before, all of the work from the ground staff is done behind the scenes, and they don't really get the credit they deserve until after the event's finished. And it's, I guess, as somebody who's looking after them and managing them all the time, it's always good to try and provide those sorts of fun atmospheres. You know, that we had a magician come down to the shed at one point. He wasn't very good, but
he wasn't even a magician, I don't think.
Well, he was, but he just did some trick. So yeah, things like that, just to try and keep them motivated. Yeah, they're all important things. Yeah, it was good to be able to get Cam down there anyway.
There's another video that I just want to play. If you can drive, it should be right down the bottom. No, not that one. This one. So this is Rowan teeing off in front of a crowd prior to, in the Pro-Am. So
shitting myself right now.
Were you more nervous to talk in front of these people today, or were you more nervous there?
Yeah, by far there. Look, golf's like riding a bike. You can not do it for years, and then you can come straight back to it and fall flat on your face. And I don't know how I hit it so well, but got it away.
So for those in the room that don't know what a Pro-Am is, do you want to just explain what that looks like on the day, and then who you played with, and what it was like? Yeah.
So Pro-Am, in the name, you've got professional and amateurs. I was lucky enough to play with Louis Oosthuizen, so he's a major winner. I think he's won the British Open and something else. And also a guy named David Puig. He was a Spanish guy. He was erratic. He was worse than me. But Louis Oosthuizen, he just straight down the middle every time. And yeah, you get to have a round with the pros. Not something that I would normally get to partake in, but the club got a certain amount of tickets to play in it. Got to play with a major winner and got one good shot in.
The Thursday, so that was the Thursday, yeah. The Thursday at LIV, because you guys have this for 2 years now, another 2 years?
So it was 2 for a start, plus 2 if the government wanted.
So at least 1?
Yeah, at least 2.
Yeah, as in one more.
One more,
yeah. So you need to start preparing for that basically the day or now, repair it so they can destroy it again.
Already happening,
yeah. So if you do get a chance to go and you care about golf and space, like the Thursday's a really good day to go because you can actually get general admission tickets, and I don't work for them, but you get a lot better access to everything, and you get quite close up to the golfers. We've got about 20 minutes left, and I've got a lot of questions, but I'm conscious that obviously this day's about you guys. So if anyone's got a question that they want to ask, by all means put your hand up and I'll run out to you with the microphone, otherwise I'll continue. No questions? All right, you're obviously not that interesting. So, have we got is there any photos of the 12th on that?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to drive?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yep. So we've just got a few photos here that Rowan's brought in. So the 12th is the party hole, and it is, I guess, part of LIV's brand. We were there for a couple of days and it was amazing, but with that much alcohol, with that many Australians, it can bring some challenges. I guess talk us through the 12th from a preparation standpoint, and then what happened and then how you dealt with it.
Yeah, so the hole itself short par 3. It was out of play for about 6 weeks. The construction area around it was off limits for golfers, so we've got a 37th hole that we brought into play. But yeah, golfers were wandering around it all the time and seeing the structures come up, and for us to prepare it was a lot easier. Obviously not having golfers on it, the world would be great without golfers, but we've
like ratepayers.
Yeah. So yeah, we were lucky in the fact that, you know, probably the most televised part of our golf course was going to be without play for that period of time, and it was seriously like carpet. The tee looked like a green on any other golf course. It was pretty cool. But yeah, the atmosphere around that hole, if anyone went along, was electric. Everyone was on the beers and throwing them around the place. I don't know if we could get a video of the hole in one, but yeah,
the hole in one would be on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It'll be on Bert Kreischer's
Yeah.
on his YouTube.
Yeah, but the crowd around there was pretty cool. I was lucky enough to be in the back stand 10 metres away from the hole when the hole in one went off, and it was
The only day I didn't go.
It was phenomenal. We just there was beers
It won't
flying
be
everywhere, cans.
It won't be on his.
Yeah, it's not in that group.
You'll need to look it up, like on YouTube. Have you got the internet connected?
But yeah, the crowd threw beers all over the green and over the tee. It was pretty crazy for a couple of minutes. Perfect for LIV. That's exactly what they wanted. Good for the Grange Golf Club. We were sort of got worldwide exposure, and I guess that sort of party atmosphere is normally likened to some of the bigger tournaments in the US, and it happened at Grange, and that was pretty cool. So yeah.
We were on the 12th for a couple of days, and the kind of throwing of drinks was escalating. I probably should have got him paid YouTube. So it was escalating, and it got to a point where it was about to get out of control, and I'll let Rowan talk about his staff's involvement with it, but this will give you a bit of an insight on what happened.
This is going all the way. Takes Captain 12, the watering hole is posing. Oh yeah. Oh, let's get cut. Oh! This! We promised you an ace of 12, and Chase Captain has delivered!
The beers were free as well, so people were just grabbing full ones and throwing them all over the place.
That's one of the great moments in LIV Golf history.
That's it. So you'll notice in that video there's a lot of plastic cups on the ground. The day prior there was no plastic cups at all on the 12th. You were happy to talk about what happened?
As you know.
Also,
Poor Celeste is all I can say.
he's my spirit animal. He's my favourite comedian. I was in that corporate box the day before, and they were bringing famous people down. So I think we had Birds of Tokyo or something. And then the next day, I saw that and just melted. But it's all right. I'll meet him one day. So yeah, talk to us about what happened and then how you guys pivoted quickly.
Yeah, so the original plan was that any time that happened, that we'd have staff on the hole at all times to pick up the cans, and it was just cans for a start. And the first day, I think they threw a few out onto the tee, and might have been, I don't know, a couple of hundred cans to pick up, which was pretty simple. But a couple of our staff almost got hit with some cans flying around the place. And then, yeah, the next day there was something else happened on the hole, and our guys had gone out to...
It was a young lady.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was a cans for cans or something, I think it was. And so they threw... our guys ran out there a little early, and one of them got peppered with a full can in the side of the face, and was taken to hospital. So the very next day we put a stop to that. We were out there picking up the cans for the hole-in-one because that was epic. But the health and safety side of things, we just couldn't continue to do that with our staff. So they put the volunteers out there, and most of the volunteers were 1,000-year-old ladies, and no one's going to throw a full can at an old lady. So
it was interesting to watch. So one of Rowan's senior team members was there controlling everything, and originally they had plastic bins that they were using to collect the cans, and so the people in the crowd thought they were basketball rings and were actually aiming for the bins, which obviously brought out danger. And it was good to see they pretty much switched to plastic bags really quickly, and then the next day switched to plastic cups. Obviously, throw a plastic cup full of alcohol, nothing lands, whereas a full can, as Rowan said, the corporate facilities was just unlimited cans, and that whole area was corporate, so there was just full cans going. So the young man that got hit's okay, obviously.
He's fine. Yep, they gave him a slab.
They did.
Liv gave him a slab of beer, so it's all good.
Just sign this document, yeah. Fly to Saudi and sign this document. Obviously, everything gets packed up, all the champagne bottles are popped, and then you're left with the carnage of a golf course that's just been lived. What does that look like now for you? And are you going to have areas ready to the same standard? Like, was there enough damage that it's irreparable before you get back, or what's the plan now?
No, well, probably the strange or the thing that's not normal for events that size is that golfers were playing prior to the event right up until the day before the golfers got there, or the good golfers got there. And then as soon as they packed up, or as soon as the golf was gone, Monday morning after that Sunday, they had a big corporate event, and that's hard enough to back up being pretty drunk on the Sunday night to get there at 4:30 on a Monday morning. They have a big corporate event on that day that they just play the composite course again, but then on the Tuesday morning, 16 holes on both courses were back in play. So the first 2 holes on the East course were still a car park up until a couple of weeks ago, until they cleaned out all of the structures out of our car park, and then basically that got back to 18 holes. So we're back at 36 holes now, and have been for a couple of weeks. So there's a bit of damage out there, but it's all just, none of it's from foot traffic or the spectators, any of that sort of stuff. It's all just from the flatbed trucks, forklifts, things like that are going through. So there's about 2,500 squares of turf to replace in roughs and crossovers, and it's all pretty good.
Well, that sounds like a pretty similar number to a concert. You said before 2,700 or something, so it's not bad for the whole course. So what are the learnings? What are you going to do differently in preparation for this next one? Obviously you've got more time, but you guys would have done a debrief afterwards and said, look, this should have happened differently. Are you happy to talk about that? And if so, what are you going to do differently in preparation for 2024?
So we just need a date for the next one. Haven't got a date yet. I would
5 months.
yeah, 3 days before. I would prefer it was in April again. There was the heat stress that you'd normally get around tournaments in February, which is when South Australia, normally we're having tournaments through February, so the heat stress wasn't there. We could prep the course a little bit more comfortably. As soon as I find out the date, I'm going to do exactly as I said and work back from that date and figure out what needs to be planned in that spread of time. But as for what I do differently, it really depends on the date. The tournament in February is going to require a lot more staff, a lot more irrigation. The stands are put up over the tops of sprinklers, so we turn them off for the event, so a lot of hand watering, and for up to 7 or 8 weeks, hand watering fairways, tees in 40-degree temps. So I would prefer it was in March or April, but it's a busy time for South Australia in March and April with Fringe and WOMAD, I think it is. Maybe the Gather Round as well.
That was the week before.
Yeah, the week before. So, and I think that April time is perfect. The Masters are on in the US right beforehand, and then everybody's talking about who's going over to Grange.
I think we were really blessed with weather that week. It was 24 or 23, but it felt hot outside. It was shorts weather, even though it wasn't stupidly hot. I would say February would be ridiculous in even from a spectator standpoint, like you think about some of the events you go to where they'll have mid-strength beers, like a V8 supercar event, because people are drinking for 8 hours. You had that, and they were serving, I don't know what the strongest alcohol was, but there was like whatever you wanted, really, wasn't there? So it's pretty dangerous if it's 40 and you're pumping that much. I mean, you saw how bad it was at 23. So
Yeah. I think you get more spectators to a week of drizzly rain than you would 40-degree heat as well. So
yeah, there was rain leading into it, wasn't there? But then it just kind of went away.
yeah, we were lucky, and that's that's typical of in April for Adelaide. So we had gather round. I don't know if anyone recalls. It was pretty wet for those few days, and then we just were blessed. Yeah, we had those 3 tournament days where it was sort of 18 to 24, I think, and it was quite warm outside.
You mentioned before you used, I don't know if I misunderstood, but you used almost a year's worth of water in 5 months. Is that, are you now, do you have less water now, or do you just buy more water?
No. We use that water over those summer months, basically, so September. Although it was quite a wet lead into Christmas, we still managed to use all of that water across those, not 5 months, but a bit longer than that. So yeah.
Has anyone thought of any questions they want to ask? We've got about 10 minutes left. No one's curious about anything related to... Oh, we got some at the back. Of course, at the back. Cardio fitness.
Just wanted to find out, as Adam was saying before, struggling to try and get people coming into the industry. If you have got any sort of succession planning in place, or are you looking at sort of school-based traineeships or anything like that as well?
Yeah, we are having troubles like everybody else is, and we do try and put a little bit of an emphasis on getting younger people in and training them up and bringing them through to become qualified greenkeepers, but we're just finding that we're not either A, not able to get them through their apprenticeship, or B, they are ready to move on as soon as they're finished. So I have resorted a little bit to probably employing 30 to 45-year-old people with a bit more life experience, maybe from another industry where they may not have had as good a conditions as what we've got. They're always invariably taking a pay cut to come and be a greenkeeper, but they're there for they've made their money in another industry and they just want a bit of work-life balance or a job that they enjoy. So I'm finding that employing people like that has been really beneficial, and once they're in the door, we're getting them trained up through ARO or any of these other training organisations, and retaining them or trying to retain them that way.
Anyone else? No? Deal with some photos in that folder if you just want to open them up. We might just get Rowan to talk about some of these photos before, unless there's a bartender but run the... No.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's my mate.
That's Ned. Ned's 6'10".
He can also hit a golf ball 400 metres.
Yeah, he's in a long drive tournament or a competition, so...
He's going to be One Hub sponsored.
Is he?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Nice. So yeah, we had about 56 or 57 staff for the week of the tournament, and they came from only 4 from within SA, and the rest of them were all from interstate. So yeah, they came along and they just boost your numbers for tournament week. They give you the chance to be able to get everything prepped in the morning and in the afternoon. There's all the guys on the 12th. Greg Norman made a visit and dragged everyone out for a photo, which was good. So yeah, they're mostly the volunteers, all of them. There's me and Greg. Susanna there, Susie's just been promoted to our third in charge, so I don't know about landscaping, but certainly women in the turf industry are really underrepresented, and Susie's husband works over at Kooyonga Golf Club, so they're both tied up in the trade and both really good at it. And Susie's Portuguese, actually. She's got a degree in, something. Agricultural science is what she's got. And so yeah, she's sort of been all around the world, and she's found her way to Grange. And yeah, we just put her on as our second assistant, third in charge. There's the party hole. So yeah, you see the big LIV sign there. They came and painted that the week of the tournament. That's still on the ground out there. So if anyone has some tips on how to get paint off the turf, I'd be interested to hear that.
Adam probably does.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so there's our group. Every morning we'd have once we finished, Clint and the guys came in and cooked us breakfast, which was good. And then we'd have a little meeting to talk about how the morning went, the green speeds, keep everyone updated, the firmness of the greens, any issues that we had out there. And then we'd go through a little ceremony where we'd send one greenkeeper out with each group of golfers, and they would rake the bunkers for that group, and we'd just have a bit of a ceremony where you hand out the ticket to each greenkeeper, and they've got to read out which group they were going with. And I guess if you're a golfer and you managed to swing Cam Smith and Mark Leishman and Jed Morgan or whoever it might have been, you get a fair roar from the crowd. It was pretty good. You see the crowds there. It's just, I mean, I just hit it straight to that cameraman on the right. But I don't know how you stand with crowds like that and have any sort of confidence. But you know, these guys really are the best golfers in the world, and to see that in Adelaide, you don't see that anywhere in Australia. And to have it at the club that I work at, pretty proud of that.
You wouldn't be able to do that in AFL. Have them lining the goalposts. Wipe everyone out.
Clint, you're probably in that photo.
Maybe. No, that's Bert. That was the day I wasn't there. That's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Keep bringing that up.
Yeah, so that's a picture of the fan zone. So the first on the west is a par 5. I don't know, it might be 500 metres long, but the entire hole was taken up by a fan village and a stage where Fisher, the guy at the start, played. They had Birds of Tokyo played out there as well on one of the other nights, and just a central hub. It's sort of right in between the back nine on the west and the back nine on the east, and yeah, really good atmosphere in there as well. If you're sort of not a golfer and you wanted to just go and have a few beers and have a bit of a party.
Kid-friendly, like it was that.
Yeah, that's right. Activation zones in there for the kids and stuff like that. So, and all sorts of stuff. Cricket, footy. They had a sand pit in there for a beach type feel for the kids or anyone who wanted to get in it.
One last thing I just want to, I guess, get you to talk about before we wind up and have a couple of drinks. The 18th got like invaded on the last day. Talk to me about crowd management, and is there something that could have been done differently there, or was it just always going to happen? And then how much damage did your bunkers get with people climbing in your bunkers?
Yeah, well, actually, there's a picture of some damage that was under the stands on the party hole after it had been taken away. Yeah, security on the last day was. Oh, there's my kids, the tees. Yeah, the security on the last day was a little bit lax. There was a fairly big crowd out there, and we just, you know, a normal event, you just have people flooding the 18th fairway, but normally within, you know, within that group of people, you'd have the golfers out the front walking up to the green and then coming in behind. But security just couldn't hold them back, and there's me playing golf with Peter Malinauskas.
He wearing running shoes.
Yeah, he is, yeah. He only played 2 holes.
Socks pulled up.
He just came out for a quick hit, 6:30 in the morning. That's exactly right, yep. But yeah, the security were a little bit lax, so they didn't really hold the crowds back too well. And then I think there's some photos or video there somewhere of the crowd swarming the 18th green, and right at the sort of last shot that was played, they were running through the bunkers and trying to get up as close to the green as they could. So that was a bit hard to watch.
Do you think they'll change the way that that's managed next year? Like
Yeah, I think they need to. They definitely have to try and maintain.
So all of these, I mean, there's a lot of police there, but no one should be there, right?
No, that's right. I'd say, well, they can certainly be on the 18th approach, but another 10 metres back would be ideal. But yeah, the bunkers, I probably can't see it, but on the lady in the pink dress on the right-hand side, there's a bunker right there where they're standing, and everyone's standing in it. So the bunk was trash, but no different to Saturday comp round.
All those scratch golfers. Are you playing golf at the moment?
No, twice a year.
Yeah, at Ambrose events. So with me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got no other questions. If anyone's got one last question before we finish up, let me know. No, I'm sure everyone's either keen to network or go
What's
home.
your biggest highlight, Rowan, of that whole event?
Probably Cam Smith, or that photo there with Greg Norman. It was good to be able to go and meet him. A couple of times I got the chance to do that a couple of times, which was pretty cool. And in that instance, there he was just couldn't be happier with how the course was, and LIV are a big organisation, and I don't know if anyone's watched their events, but the most amount of spectators have had at any of their events prior to Grange was 8,000, and he was blown away by the standard of the course, but the amount of people that were flooding into the property, and just couldn't be happier, and to be able to boost LIV. Grange did its part to boost LIV rather than the other way around, and that's pretty cool.
Well done.